hello. Yes, we are live. So show me. Thank you. Hello. So, on this lovely, somewhat dreary Sunday afternoon, I thought I'd pop on and do a little colouring with some Winsor Newton markers. So, as the title suggests, we're going to be colouring this stream using Winsor Newton Promarkers. Now, specifically, this is probably it's the smallest collection I have. I only have manga set 2 from the Winsor Newton Promarkers. Hoping at some point to get more. Why is that still showing me not here? But currently, that makes no sense if I don't really use them. So I do want to try and get used to using them a little bit more as well. Same with the Artex. It's something that I've had for a while, but haven't really done much with. I've tried it out on a couple of Pokemon streams, just because the Pokemon colours that I needed suited what I had. But yeah, I think we don't really need much more introduction to what we're doing. You know what we're doing, we're here to colour. So let's colour. As I said, there's only sort of 12 colours in this set. So I've gone through the Bold and Easy Trippy and Groovy colouring book that I bought off Temu, and found sort of one of the more simple designs, drawings, pictures, and thought we'd go with that and just see sort of where we get to. As I say, there's only 12 colours, so it's going to be less sort of variety, but let's crack on with a soft green. And I think I'm going to try and start sort of from the bottom, work my way up maybe. At the very least, I want to get these swirls done first. Pardon me, I just had to go and sneeze. Yeah, just want to get these swirls done first, I think, and then sort of move on from there, upwards at the very least. Perhaps doing the stars, perhaps doing something else. I don't quite know yet. I just know that I don't want to do what I would normally do, which is start with the feather and then work around it and see where we go. Let's see where we go. So as I say, I'm going to start with soft green and just do this bottom section, but I just want to make sure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, we're still working the same part here. So these come with a bullet nib and a broad nib. Although I did see, I think I mentioned it on the last stream maybe, in the craft store near me that's closing down. They did have some of the brush sets on sale, so I may purchase some as well. So as I say, I haven't used these too much. I have used them before, not for an entire image, but I have used them before. And I like them. They're smooth. The colour comes out quite nicely. They're a bit more bulky to hold than some of the other markers I've got. But I don't see that as much of a problem. I probably almost never, on this picture I more than likely will just because of the large background, but I've never really used or haven't often used the broad nib on these. In the few times that I've used them, I've used the bullet, so. But okay, so we're going with sandstone. I started watching quite a lot of videos of exactly what I'm doing on YouTube of different channels, and quite often you see them using the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What? Where have I gone wrong there then? Huh? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. I've confused myself here. This has come out of nowhere. Well, this one should have been green. This one should not have been that colour. It looks like, but oh well. Yeah, it looks like obviously they generally are probably slightly more experienced than professional maybe artists, but also B tend to use a lot of shading on their colouring books. That's still something that I'm not there with. I'm still really not sure how much of an ASMR thing I want this to be. With my Pokemon videos, obviously I talk all the way through, but with these, there's not much really to talk about other than the pens perhaps initially, which could be in the description. So I don't know what has happened here. These are confusing the heck out of me. I'm gonna have to continue going as we are and colouring. Yeah, they don't match up. They don't match up at all. But yeah, I mean, one thing I always worry that with ASMR without specific equipment, I'm gonna end up just breathing heavily down the microphone while I colour, but I also I do enjoy sort of chatting away and talking about what I want to talk about or what I want to do or what I am doing, but also there's, after a certain point, what is there to talk about, I suppose. But I do find them very relaxing to watch. Okay, let's try and figure out what we want to do with this now then, because that's all gone a bit skew, hasn't it? So I'm going to go in with a poppy this time, I think, and just it's quite fun actually. I think colouring's always been something I've enjoyed, but never really sort of as something to sort of sit and do. And I'd watched a few sort of videos and a couple of channels initially on YouTube, but then one channel that I watched frequently did a review on the Ohuhu Kala series just as they were coming out. And I thought, do you know what? The price is reasonable. They seem like actual good quality products. Let's give alcohol markers a go. Let's see what I think. And my husband then, I that got engaged then, so my boyfriend, but either way, my husband sort of said not to. I did anyway, of course. But in the meantime, that Christmas, which was only a couple of months after that conversation, had bought me the Deco Time ones from the store near us. Which of course I ended up using a lot more than the Ohuhu anyway. But that kind of was my gateway. And it's quite funny because I was talking to my sister-in-law yesterday. She'd come round to visit my son for his birthday. And she'd said that when we went on a recent holiday to France as a sort of a big sort of family holiday, we were staying in this lovely chateau. and I brought the Artex markers that I used on the last stream, and she sort of had taken a liking to what I was doing and gone out and bought her own sort of low cost set to see how she feels with them. So, and then all she's been doing is colouring, so clearly everyone has their gateway marker or gateway experience, and I'm glad it could be hers. That was Cool Aqua, by the way, that I just jumped into. Now I'm going to use Honeycomb. Let's go with Cool Grey 2. It's one thing, it's quite interesting. I quite like working with greys sometimes. I think some greys just really are quite pretty. I enjoy, even when I'm sort of trying to do something somewhat multicoloured, I do enjoy chucking a little bit of grey in some parts. I'm especially partial to a blue-grey. Okay, what colour to do next? I've kind of got that colour earmarked for the stars and that colour earmarked for the background, so I don't want to do those. That is the issue with, I suppose, having such a small collection. I'm going with olive green next, by the way, is that you're going to quite quickly run through this kind of problem of needing to repeat colours, or not necessarily overlap, but potentially have colours touching or next to each other, just so that you're not doing monochrome colours. I suppose I don't want to have just the whole page one colour, but I am quite often very reluctant to have colours either definitely not touching, but sort of too close to each other. Okay. So I think I'm going to go back in with the soft green just for this chunk here, so it's at least slightly more used. It is quite a nice colour. And then I might go back in with honeycomb here as well, just again to get a bit more use out of that one here, and then also not go into the ones that I want to use next. So where to next? What do I want to do next? I think I'm going to have to do the feather next. So I'm going to go in first with putty to do the sort of spine. I don't even know what that's called actually. The sheath. And then I think I'm going to try and two-tone this. So I'm going to go in with henna around the edges and then come back in the centre with poppy and see if that looks any good. They are quite far away in colour, but also they're both in the family of reds. So is that just... No, it still looks alright, the light-wise. Yeah. So I'm just going to go in sort of halfway down the feather itself. Also, it's interesting, it kind of just looks blood soaked at the moment, but this is interesting. Let's just do that. This does come down a little more brown than I thought it would. I do want to alternate kind of the, I suppose the sizes or the amounts of these colours I do, just to not have it looking the same, so it doesn't have to be sort of measured out. Kind of just how I feel as I'm doing it, basically. I think I will do one side at a time, just so they stay a little bit more wet to blend, but also so I can decide if I want to do the same. Who knows, I might want to do a different colour on the other side. We shall see as we do it. Cool, okay. So let's get the poppy and see if this looks how I expected it to look. I mean, it's not blended as well. I do have the blender, so I could stop for a second and see what that looks like, but I like it at the moment. I'll stop when I get to these and I'll try and blend a little. Question is that here? For some reason, decided it was smart to put all my blenders into a pencil case. Let's see what this looks like. It doesn't really make a significant impact that I can tell, other than making this weird darker ring here, so I think I'm not going to do that with the rest of them. I think I'm just going to carry on as sort of it is. I don't think I like that. It's not looking that amazing, and I do want to sort of shout a quick apology out to anyone who is sort of rewatching this on VODs or on YouTube and isn't loving the quality of the colouring. That's on me, and it will improve, but I wouldn't expect anyone that is watching to be sort of here for the quality of the colouring at the moment. So yeah. Okay, I like that. Now, do I want to do something similar with a different colour, or do I want to do the same colour? I don't know. Part of me thinks I should just do the same one, but then also... yeah, but I'm just going to do the same one. I'm looking at the colours I've got and I don't know what are the two I'd put together at this stage. This is annoying, this whole gappy thing, because there's this bit here as well. I think I'm just gonna add that in, and then hopefully it looks okay once the background colour comes on. But again, I can't really whinge because this was a couple of quid from Temu, so Is that a feather or a gap there? That's gap. Okay. Okay, I'm back in with Poppy. Okay. So I'm going to go straight into the stars now, I think, with saffron. And then I'm going to do the bubbles after, and then the background, and then that's it. I don't love how the feather turned out, but actually I don't mind it. I think looking at it sort of from slightly further away, I quite like it. Okay. And I'm gonna use Cool Aqua for the bubbles. And then other than the colour I'm using for the background, the only other colour I haven't used is Cool Grey 4. I don't really see anywhere that I want to use that on. Suppose maybe I could have done one side of the feather with a grey, because I've got the two greys, Cool Grey 2 and Cool Grey 4. So I think I may try out the broad nib just for this bit, because this is a pretty large circle. Okay, and the only thing left to do now is to use a petrol blue for the background. So I think I'll start this side and work my way around. I think that's probably the best way to go. That's a beautiful blue. if I just go over this and just darken it up with this blue, but I'm going to switch to the broad nib for a little, even if just to get around the large parts and then do the smaller parts in with the bullet. well, I've said it enough times, I think. 1, messy is messy and messy is cool, that's fine. But also 2, that's fine. I tend to lose focus / interest the most in these parts where I'm having to fill in large areas. It's just boring as heck to fill in. It's like colouring a whole piece of paper basically for me. And when you get bored, you get a little sloppy. And I'm already sloppy enough, so. I think now we're at a point, look at that. Now we're at a point where the bullet's going to come in much more handy. There we go. And other than I say a lot of mess, we are completely done. I quite like that actually. They're decent pens, and they're good pens, obviously. They do use a lot more ink faster, maybe. But no, I like that. So thanks so much for watching. For anyone that is watching this on a VOD on Twitch, please do click a follow if you enjoy the content. I do stream irregularly, but often enough, I suppose. If you're watching on YouTube and like this, there is a playlist in the description, as well as some of the videos on my channel, the Cetacean. So please do click a like, click a subscribe if you like, and drop a comment. Just let me know how I did today. Let me know what your thoughts on Winsor Newton are, what your thoughts on markers, etc. And hopefully I'll see you all on the next one. So thank you very much. Bye.